When you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? For most of us, it's not stretching, meditating, or even saying good morning to the person next to us. It's checking our phones. Notifications, messages, updates, news, updates, news. Within seconds, we're plugged into a digital world that never sleeps. Technology, once created to make our lives easier, has become the very lens through which we experience almost everything, from work and love to entertainment and even our sense of happiness. But the question that's been haunting me lately is this: has technology actually made us happier or just more distracted? If we go back a few decades, happiness was a slower, quieter thing. People found joy in small victories, finishing a day's work, sharing dinner with family, walking outside, or watching the sunset. There was boredom, yes, but boredom gave birth to creativity. Conversations weren't interrupted by buzzing phones, and memories weren't instantly uploaded to social media. The tools we used were simple: a book, a letter, a conversation. Our attention was whole, and in that attention, we found connection and satisfaction. Then came the digital revolution, computers, the internet, smartphones, and happiness began to shift shape. Suddenly, everything became faster, easier, more convenient. You didn't have to wait to hear from a friend across the world. You didn't have to wait for a show to air next week. Life became instant, and for a while it felt magical. At first, technology seemed like the ultimate happiness machine. It made things that were once impossible not only possible but effortless. Social media connected us, streaming platforms entertained us, apps helped us learn, exercise, and even meditate. Every piece of innovation came with the promise of making life better, and it did, for a while. But soon, something subtle started to change. Our happiness began to feel shorter, more fragile. The satisfaction that came from an online interaction or a digital success faded almost as quickly as it appeared. We found ourselves scrolling for more, clicking for more, chasing that next tiny burst of joy, only to end up feeling emptier than before. The reason lies deep inside our brains. Every time we get a notification, a like, a comment, a message, our brain releases dopamine, the chemical of reward. It's the same one that fires when we eat something delicious or fall in love. Technology, by design, exploits that chemical. Apps are built to keep us coming back for that tiny hit of happiness, but the more we get it, the less we feel it. Our brains adapt. What once felt exciting becomes normal. That's why you can scroll for an hour and still not feel satisfied. Technology has turned happiness into something that must constantly be refreshed, literally with a swipe of your finger. This doesn't mean technology is evil. It means that the way we use it has rewired what happiness means to us. Before, happiness was tied to effort, to building something, learning something, connecting deeply with people in person. It was slow happiness, the kind that required patience. Now we live in an era of fast happiness. Everything is instant. The food we eat, the shows we binge, the likes we get. And just like fast food, fast happiness feels good in the moment but leaves us craving more. We're rarely satisfied because our brains are constantly expecting something new, something more stimulating. Over the past decade, psychologists and neuroscientists have noticed a clear pattern. Rates of anxiety, loneliness, and depression have risen dramatically, especially among younger generations who grew up online. Social media, while connecting billions, has also amplified comparison. We're not just living our lives anymore, we're performing them. We measure happiness not by how we feel, but by how our lives appear on a screen. And that's dangerous because happiness is internal, but technology constantly pushes us to look outward, to chase validation instead of fulfillment. The more we compare, the less content we feel with what we have. But here's where it gets complicated. Technology isn't purely the villain in this story. It's also a powerful tool for genuine happiness when used with intention. Think about it. Technology lets us talk to loved ones across the world in seconds. It gives artists, writers, and creators platforms to express themselves to millions. It provides education, entertainment, and even therapy to people who might otherwise never have access. It's not the technology itself that steals our joy. It's the way we let it control us. When we use technology consciously to create, connect, learn, or grow, it can amplify happiness. When we use it mindlessly to compare, escape, or numb ourselves, it drains it. A few months ago, I ran a small experiment on myself. I tracked my screen time for a week and rated my happiness every day. The results were eye-opening. On days when I spent over 7 hours on my phone, I felt anxious and restless. My focus was scattered, my sleep worse, and my mind constantly overstimulated. But when I intentionally limited my use, turning off notifications, checking messages at specific times, and using my phone only for productive or creative tasks, something shifted. I felt calmer, more present. I actually noticed small things again: the taste of my breakfast, the sound of birds outside, the feeling of quiet. Happiness started to feel fuller, not fleeting. And it had nothing to do with deleting technology, just changing how I used it. The truth is, happiness has evolved alongside technology. In the industrial age, happiness came from progress, building, creating, inventing. In the digital age, happiness became about connection, being seen, being heard, being online. And now, as we enter the AI era, happiness is transforming again into something about balance. The challenge of our time isn't finding happiness, it's learning how to protect it in a world that constantly demands our attention. We can't turn back time or unplug from society, but we can redefine how technology fits into our emotional lives. The key might be what psychologists call intentional digital living. It means asking, every time you reach for a device, am I using this to enhance my life or to escape from it? When we use technology to enhance, to learn a skill, create something meaningful, talk to a friend, or solve a problem, it boosts long-term happiness. But when we use it to escape, to avoid boredom, comparison, or loneliness, it amplifies the very feelings we're trying to run from. True happiness comes not from escaping discomfort, but from understanding it. Technology has also changed where we find happiness. Before, it was physical, a walk, a touch, a conversation. Now it's often digital. A message, a video, a meme that makes us laugh. But there's a limit to how much happiness can live through pixels. Studies show that digital interactions provide short-term joy, but lack the depth of in-person connections. Our brains still crave real eye contact, shared laughter, and physical presence. That's why no matter how many followers you have or how many messages you send, you can still feel lonely. We're wired for human connection, not just digital validation. However, technology can also extend happiness in ways humanity has never experienced before. Imagine a musician in India inspiring a listener in Canada, or a student in a small town learning from the world's best teacher online. Technology has democratized joy, making knowledge, art, and opportunity accessible to everyone. The power of human creativity, multiplied by digital connection, has produced moments of collective happiness that were once unimaginable. Think of the joy when millions celebrate a live event online or rally together for a good cause. Technology can unite us if we use it with empathy, not ego. So how does happiness change with technology? It becomes faster, louder, more global, but also more fragile. We've learned to measure it through likes and comments, but those are only shadows of real joy. Happiness today is less about peace and more about stimulation, and the challenge for our generation is to slow it back down, to rebuild happiness on our own terms, because true happiness hasn't disappeared, it's just harder to notice beneath the noise for noise. Maybe happiness in the digital age isn't about rejecting technology, but reclaiming control over it. It's about curating your inputs, protecting your attention, and choosing depth over distraction. It's turning your phone from a master into a servant, a tool for growth, not escape. It's setting boundaries, saying no to mindless scrolling and yes to mindful moments. Happiness, at its core, still comes from the same things it always has: connection, purpose, gratitude, and presence. Technology can support all of these if we let it. So maybe the question isn't has technology made us happier, but how can we make technology serve our happiness? The answer starts with awareness. Every notification you ignore, every offline conversation you choose, every moment you spend creating instead of consuming, you're redefining happiness for this era. You're proving that joy doesn't need to be downloaded or streamed, it just needs to be noticed. In the end, happiness changes with technology the same way it changes with time. It evolves. What once was found in letters and laughter is now shared through screens and stories. But the feeling itself, that deep human warmth, hasn't changed. It's still ours to protect. We just have to remember to look up from our screens long enough to feel it, because the most important updates in life will never come from a notification. They'll come from the world waiting right in front of us.